All right, guys, what is going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk about the top 10 reasons, or just 10 reasons to be excited for the upcoming XDefiant. Now, first and foremost, I just quickly want to say thank you to each and every one of you who has either recently subscribed or for whatever reason has been with me for so many years, or anybody in between that for whatever reason you guys chose to hit that subscribe button. I want to say thank you because as of yesterday, after the stream, or should I say the day before, as of the time of this recording, we reached 2,000 subscribers. And I've been at this for quite a while. And to be honest, I didn't think I'd ever make it to 2,000 subscribers. Hell, I was lucky to get past 1.5 as it is, but maybe another story perhaps ahead of time, or we can just kind of put that to rest. It really doesn't need to be talked about, but regardless of which, I just wanted to say thank you, and I very much appreciate it. Now, I've already done a take or two of this, so I want to make this a lot faster because the previous take was 24 minutes, so that is way too much. That is way too long, so let's get right into the nitty-gritty. So, number one, the game is going to release soon. A lot of time has passed since the last time we got our hands on the game, and of course the more time that goes by, every second that goes by, we are one step closer to the game. And I actually do believe that the game does have at least a 50-50 shot of releasing of this year, especially since Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer is kind of down bad, but that actually may change due to the acquisition of Microsoft, and I've already mentioned that in my previous video going into the nitty-gritty about that. But of course, at the latest, we're going to see it in January. I don't think it's going to take all the way up until March. I seriously don't think so. They want to get the game out, so it is actually more likely that it's going to come out in January, because if they were to release it in December, it would only be like, even if they were to release it in early December, what would end up happening is it wouldn't be too long after to where they would be on their Christmas break, which pretty much a lot of devs, if not all devs, do. So to kind of release the game and kind of be gone for 2 weeks while you take a break or whatnot just doesn't seem to be right. And I don't think these guys are going to sacrifice their Christmas break. I think they're going to take their break, and then within the first week or two of January, we are going to see the game at the latest. And that is that. So coming soon. It won't be much longer now. So our patience will pay off. Next up, no skill-based matchmaking. Of course, I'm also referring to EOMM, not just SBMM. And I think this is a breath of fresh air. And the fact that it's going to be like that at launch is really going to give us, the gaming community, the variety that we've needed. And I really don't think I need to say much more upon the subject. The fact that no SBMM is going to be in it is going to make this game very unique compared to others, because every other game out there has it. So for this game to not have it and to give us that dose of the classic casual arcade shooter experience is something that we've been longing for since 2019. And, you know, it's going to be like, what, 4 or 5 years that we're going to get it, and we've waited very long, and I'm really glad that these guys are going to give it to us, and I think it might even have a chance of inspiring other games to do the same. Moving on to the next reason. Let's see. We have competent devs. We have devs that are in the right place, former Call of Duty developers that know the game, that know the genre, that play their games. We have Mark Rubin, who's also being very transparent, which is something that is very much needed and appreciated at this point. I think a lot of us that have been on the XDefiant train, so to speak, ever since the start, can really appreciate the kind of transparency that Mark Rubin has been given to us. And I think either sometime this week or maybe sometime next week, we are going to get yet another update, because it's usually every 3 to 4 weeks or so that Mark Rubin himself basically likes to update us. Even when it's quiet and there's not much to talk about, there's always something that he has to say, even if it's the smallest update. And at the same time, it goes to show a lot about what he thinks of us and how he sees things the way we see them, because he is one of us. He does play his own game, believe it or not. And according to Twitter, he seems to be pretty damn good at it too. So again, he's been on both sides of the fence, which is exactly what we need as an arcade shooter community that we've been kind of wanting for a long time. So when you've got competent devs that know what they're doing, that are the right people in the right positions, and on top of that, you got the guy that's in charge that is being as transparent as he is, and to the point where it may even inspire other people to do the same, I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and I think this is where XDefiant can really show off its true strength and kind of lead from the front by example. Despite the fact that they're not the biggest game, leading by example in this way by doing things right is definitely something that is a reason for it to be important in this top 10. Moving on to the next one. The game is going to be free to play. I mean, I'm sure at the at this point, some people have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 buyer's remorse. And especially with this economy that everything is being that much more expensive, the fact that we're actually going to be getting a quality arcade first-person shooter experience with the bells and whistles and continued support over the years is, you know, something that should, you know, that could easily be worth $70, especially for those of us that are big-time arcade first-person shooter enthusiasts. We're going to be getting it for free. And that's going to be pretty badass, including content. So this is basically, if you think about it, this is kind of like a gift being handed to us on a silver platter. But anyway, let's continue with the next one. And that is the fact that the game is actually going to release rank play. Now, this is something that matters to a very small percentage of the community when you compare the percentage of people who are casuals compared to those who are competitive. But with that being said, competitive gaming has come a long way since its original inception, right? Black Ops 2 is when it really got taken to another level. Competitive play did exist before Black Ops 2, but Black Ops 2 really did put Call of Duty on the map as far as competitive play is concerned. And ever since then, you know, there have been a few games that have released, of course, with, for instance, rank play, but that's not always the case. You know, a lot of times it might be a week after, or 2 weeks after, or even a month after. It's kind of like an afterthought. I mean, hell, even Scump once basically said it on Twitter. He's like, I don't understand why it can't be released on, you know, on release day. And then Vonderhaar basically disrespectfully said, hey, let me rewrite that for you. I am grateful that the devs over at Treyarch are working on the League play or something like that. And Birdman made a video about it, and I side with Birdman on that. Basically, Scump kissed Vonderhaar's ass, despite the fact that Vonderhaar openly disrespected him on Twitter. But hey, that's another topic. But at the end of the day, XDefiant is releasing with ranked play, so it's going to be very interesting to see as far as the competitive side and how that goes. And of course, for people that get really good with casual, they might actually want to occasionally test their skills to a lesser or greater extent. So ranked play being available for that is definitely a great thing. All right, moving on to the next one. They're going to be optimized for launch. There have been a couple of delays. This game was originally slated to release at the end of September at first, and then mid-October, and obviously neither of those happened. And the reason is because these guys want to stick the landing, and you only have one chance to give a first impression. And these guys want to release the game with the smoothest of a landing as you can possibly get, with the least amount of bugs as possible, especially bugs that can really impact the game in a negative way. If they can, you know, squash those bugs and basically have them being non-existent to where everything that needs to be operating at an optimal level at the game from launch is operating at an optimal level, then we're good to go, and then we can just kind of build from there. So I really like the fact that we also got a beta that was actually a true beta that really showed off all the game's problems and all that other stuff and inconsistencies, because, well, that's what a beta is supposed to do, unlike some other games out there that get a beta just a few weeks before launch and they call it a beta when it's actually kind of like a demo. And at the same time, when they release, there's still problems and stuff like that. So it just goes to show you of how they treat their game, therefore how they're going to treat the community. They want to give us something of quality at launch. And this game is also free to play, and it's the new kid on the block, and it's trying to do so many things that some people say it's impossible, and to a certain extent rightfully so, because history has shown otherwise. But I have faith in XDefiant. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. We are going to be having post-launch content, of course, obviously for free, and it's going to be done in the way that it used to be done previously. Like every 3 months, we're going to get like up to 3 new weapons. We're going to get like a total of like, let's say 12 new maps, 12 new weapons. We're going to get new game modes. We're going to get new factions, of course, and more battle passes, and maybe a few things, other things here and there. Obviously, you guys know what I want more than anything. I want free for all. Free for all is my game mode, not just because it's where I shine, but it's also what I really enjoy. I enjoy games like Team Deathmatch, Kill Confirmed, or in this case, Hot Shot. I don't mind it, but at the same time, I really want. I really would like a free for all. Really, I think free for all could be really unique in this game, and I don't see any reason why they can't do it. So. I hope at some point in time that they do release a free-for-all, and it will be one of my greatest requests from Mark Rubin. And I'm sure there are plenty of solo players out there that wouldn't mind that either. So, and hopefully it sticks around long enough to where it can become a permanent playlist. I would love that. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. The game is already been confirmed by Mark Rubin himself to have years of support. They want to be supportive of this game for years to come. And the way they're even treating the game now, even before launch, the fact that they're treating it so delicately and they want to stick the landing just right and they want to optimize the game to be at a certain level and at a certain quality from launch, you know, just imagine what they're going to do after that. You know, they give this level of transparency and this level of attention and communication and love to their game, to have all the bugs squashed and all that kind of stuff and prep for release and to be optimized as good as possible and to make a great first impression. You know, if they make it that important compared to some other big name titles out there, especially, you know, just imagine what they're going to do after the game launches. Imagine the kind of attention and love we're going to get it. So again, you know, compare, like, come January, I would say, you know, when the game launches and beyond, you know, the Christmas break is going to be over and all these devs are going to be rested and they're going to be ready to go and motivated to give us the best type of game possible with the best optimization and everything in between that the arcade community has been wanting, and hopefully we'll get with this game. All right, next up, let's see. Oh yes, last gen support. So last gen support is actually a bigger deal than you guys think. So hear me out before you guys start to say, you know, some of you guys might be thinking last gen support only slows the game down or whatnot. This is not the case, especially right now. And of course, once the game releases on last gen, then we're pretty much good. But this is actually important. I'll tell you why. Now, the last gen, in terms of PS4 and Xbox One, those consoles are capable of 1080-60, okay? Now, when you look at, for instance, the previous Call of Duty games, like let's say Black Ops 3, for example, right? A lot of people over on Twitter or X have been talking about Black Ops 3. On console, obviously, Black Ops 3 ran at 1080-60, right? Now, if that game is said to be one of the best Call of Duties ever made, well, that game ran at 1080-60. And here we have the current Call of Duties that, in my humble opinion, do not measure up to Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 2. Even those, respectfully speaking, had their own fair share of problems. Well, these newer CODs, even though they're capable of running, you know, much higher frames and higher resolutions, those two things alone do not make them a better game. And when it comes to an arcade shooter, I think 1080-60 at 60 frames is like the minimal standard. And especially since the fact that the game at its core is casual and not competitive, 1080-60 is something that we can all live with. As a matter of fact, if 1080-60 was the limit of the current consoles right now, trust me, trust me when I tell you that I would be equally as excited for XDefiant as I would be at 120. But obviously 120 is obviously what I prefer, especially since I've experienced it. However, if I had to go back to 60, I wouldn't care. Honestly, I wouldn't care, because if the rest of the game is solid and if it's fun and if it's operating the way it should be and it's got that replay value and it feels good and it's giving me that classic arcade first-person shooter experience, sure, I don't care if it was only limited to 1080-60 and they can update it later, but we're getting additional frames at launch, and again, we're getting optimized for all versions and all that kind of stuff, so that's great. And of course, after launch, we will get the last-gen consoles, and for a multitude of reasons, there are people out there that don't have the new-gen consoles for any reason whatsoever, whether it's financial difficulties or they can't get their hands on one, even though that's becoming much less of a problem now. I think pretty much anybody can get their hands on any console they want, but you guys get the deal, you know, especially with the economy the way it is now. You know, a lot of people are, believe it or not, the vast majority of people live paycheck to paycheck. It's like 60 to 70% of the people in the country live paycheck to paycheck, and with inflation, it's not making things any better. So spending $500 on a new console or slightly more is a big deal for your average folk, and that's just the facts. So I think it's great that everybody's going to have access to the game, and that's just the way it is, you know. And at the same time, to give you an analogy, I mean, imagine if you couldn't play the game unless the only way to play the game was if you had a rig that ran on a 4090 and a 13th gen i9, you know what I mean? And anything less, you just couldn't play the game, right? It just wasn't available for anything less than that. So that's kind of like a comparison, so to speak. But anyway, moving on to the last one, and that is input-based matchmaking. Now, for those of you that don't know exactly what that is or are not sure, input-based matchmaking is where basically you get to choose what input you are going to be playing, like not what you're just going to be playing with, but what you're going to be playing against. Like, do you want to play with people that are on mouse and keyboard only, or do you want to play with people that are on controller only, or both, right? Obviously with XDefiant, you are going to be able to get to choose both. You're going to mix and match. So you get to choose whether you want crossplay on or off, and then of course you get to choose the input, which is awesome. A lot of people in the COD community have been requesting this, and Call of Duty itself, to my knowledge, up to this point, doesn't have that option. They have the option to turn crossplay on or off, but they don't have the option for input-based matchmaking. But yet, XDefiant is going to have this option. So, and for me personally, like if I was that picky about it, I'm not. But let's just say I was, right? Let's say I was that picky about it. What I would have done is I would have made it to where it's like, okay, crossplay is on, but I would do it controller only because I'm a controller player. But I don't mind playing against people on mouse and keyboard. You know, it really, and it also depends on how it ends up with the game and everything like that. But for the most part, I don't mind. I want to play with or against everybody, and and at the same time, I hope the game has it to a point to where they set the aim assist to a point to where it's not ridiculous like it is in Call of Duty now. I really do. And of course, I want the anti-cheat to be solid, and it's something that they're always going to constantly update. It's something that they're always going to be doing their thing with, and it's just the way the cookie crumbles. But at the end of the day, XDefiant, I totally have faith in the game, and I for one am looking forward to it. And the fact that I put Halo down and I'm pretty much back into the arcade shooter genre, playing some Black Ops Cold War, or you know, I might even go back and play a little bit of World War II or Black Ops 4, whatever the deal is. It's kind of really nice to come back to something that I played with for a long time and then put it down for 2 years and then come back to play it again. It's got that nice familiarity to it, and that's the thing about XDefiant. XDefiant is new, right? But it has that familiarity of that arcade shooter experience that Call of Duty gave us, but at the same time, it is not Call of Duty, right? That's one thing we have to keep in mind, is that no matter how familiar it is to Call of Duty or how alike it is, it's also trying to be its own thing. And to be honest, I could appreciate that. I appreciate that because I think both of these genres can exist. I believe both of these franchises can exist. And as a matter of fact, they should exist. And the more we have, the better. Competition is great, and variety is great. We love variety. Who doesn't love a beautiful buffet with all your favorite foods, right? Who doesn't love a buffet? So if we get a buffet of arcade shooters, just like we have a buffet of battle royales, nowadays it's like, okay, there's something here for us, and we can always alternate and go from one to the next and have fun and have a go at it. But anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to say here. I didn't want this video to run too much longer, obviously, but I want to know down in the comment section what you guys think. Are you still excited for XDefiant? What specifically would you put on your top 10? If anything, or is there something that I did not mention that you guys think is worth mentioning in the top 10 of this particular list? And once again, thank you all very much for the support. We're at 2K subs. It's a surreal feeling, but it's cool. It's awesome, and I'm looking forward to what content XDefiant is going to spawn, pretty much, because as the game comes out, ideas start to flourish. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.